Aloha. Well, here we go again. How many of you were around, years back when it was during the Carter administration? There was a government push towards alternative energy and solar programs. You remember that? I'm not asking your opinion. I'm just asking if you remember it. Yeah, well, here we go again. And I had some, one person yesterday when I was in the garden, they spotted the solar collectors on our roof and had questions about alternative energy. Definitely, this is a time in history where I think we all should be asking questions about that subject. Now, I have plenty of videos in the back here, back to about 2019 or so. I started covering our solar system. We started covering the electric car that we use, the solar charging system, the hot water system, and so on that we use here in Hawaii. And so I do have links to specific information about the systems. That's not what I'm going to cover today, though. Maybe on a sunny day, because as you can see behind me, it's a lousy day for solar energy. It's drizzling real good here. Gracie just come up down here, and I think I need a towel. She's soaked. Anyway. Yeah, so I had questions on it, and actually that pleases me. I enjoy it when people ask me questions about our solar system. Because it's been really cool for us. We like it. But currently we're looking at, some more government push to see if they can get the country converted away from this fossil fuel mess we've been in for years. I'm concerned. Yeah, I am. Because I've seen it before. Here we go again, as I said, because let's face it, there is no way that the fossil fuel industry is going to take this laying down. Yeah, it's, back when George Bush, he was talking about converting cars to hydrogen, and we were using alcohol from corn for fuel, mixing it in with the fuel and so on. And of course there was no real resistance to that whatsoever, because the people who distribute the oil and the gas will also be in charge of the alcohol and the hydrogen, and so nobody's going to lose any business, just going to change the source of how they extract. Every time this comes up, where they try to do something about our energy issues, the energy companies have their hands very deeply into the pockets of everybody in Washington, pretty much. I don't bother to look to see who, but it's a lot of them, man. It don't matter what side of the aisle or anything. It doesn't matter. Energy monopolies make sure they hedge their bets, so they bet on everybody, and that's really the truth. And so these guys are kind of bought and sold. So we can expect, this time around, maybe to get something out of it. Stuff that started years ago, kind of, it aided us in what we did. It wasn't completely useless, no, because there were tax credits. That was the main one. Tax credits were where we got off with this. There were some utility credits too. I believe governments can, regulate commerce. They can give tax credits. They can do a lot of different things that can sort of change the marketplace and the way we live. They can make laws. There are ways they shape things. But truth is, if this country was ever to get off of being addicted to fossil fuels and the problems created by them, you got to do it yourself. Yeah, it's each and every one. That's all there is to it. Don't expect the guys with oil in their pockets in Washington to be of any help on this one. The strangest things are happening right now. one day I turned around and I realized after I bought an electric Chevrolet that Chevrolet was going away from all gasoline cars. And that didn't make any sense to me at all. No, clueless. I don't hear the people in the street screaming, "We must have electric cars." They're not. I don't think most people trust them. I don't think most people believe they'll even work for them. We've been so deep into gasoline that, forget it. People don't change their minds that fast. And so why did Chevrolet say by, I believe it's 2035, there will be no more gas vehicles produced by that company, General Motors, rather, the whole corporation? Well, it eventually came clear when I realized that China, which is an authoritarian government, one voice speaks for all, so to speak. They don't have as much democratic chaos as we get in this country, and they're switching. Their air is so bad, their pollution is so bad. They understand they won't even be alive soon if they don't do something about it. And so, China's actually the one that drove General Motors to do this. Now, it's coming back at us. I mean, of course, I've been waiting for a good electric car for a long time. Yeah. And so, but I serviced electric powered forklifts and things like this for many years. I understand the concept that electric powered vehicle is entirely feasible. It's a different thing. Boy, you didn't forget to plug that thing in before you went home for the day, but yeah, it's different, but once you get used to it, it's lovely. So what came to mind this morning was that I don't see any way that particularly oil and gas companies, will take this laying down. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen, because there really is, in the current way this is being approached and where it's going to go, or where it could go, rather, I can't see any room for them. I don't know how they would fit into that picture. And, well, big, powerful companies, blah, 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 a lot of money, a lot of control, They got the purse strings on the whole operation there. And so I don't see any way that they're going to take it laying down. All right, they won't. It's just not natural. Usually what happens, aside from the money that pours into politicians' pockets from lobby groups, usually what happens is they begin to develop what looks like citizens groups. I've seen this, I don't know how many times over the years when I was working in environmental politics, that these citizens groups rise up, and they look like grassroots organizations. But if you look underneath the surface, what you find out is they've been constructed and paid for, by energy monopolies. It's mostly, it's pretty much the same as the CIA shell company. Yeah, very close. And so you end up with these groups going, "Oh, no, we can't take the oil away. If we take the oil..." Yeah, that's what will happen. It's going to happen. There'll be tremendous resistance in government and so on. And, the last time around, like I said, this rose up and it got killed. Here, this time around, well, it's a bit stronger. There's more push behind it. Maybe it's the right time. It could be the right time in history that will make the change. But it ain't going to happen easy. That's for sure. This is an energy war. Yeah, I mean, to break it down, I don't think you're going to see a lot of resistance from utilities. Okay, utilities will benefit from this. They actually will become the filling stations. And so most of them should be pretty happy with the idea, actually, and cooperative going forward, because it's actually going to shift more control and power onto the utilities than they ever had before. Utilities, a lot of them, still burn coal. And so for the meantime, well, if I was the coal lobby, I don't know how much stink I'd be making at the very moment yet, because for quite a while into the future, a lot of the electricity that's going to be produced in this country is still going to be produced with coal. We're still going to see some nuclear, too. The oil and the gas industry, this will ding them. it's going to ding them hard. You follow us all back and you look and say, and humans became agrarian and we moved into towns and we weren't in the forests anymore. No doubt we had woodcutters. Guys who go out in the woods, cut the wood, and then bring fagots of sticks and sell them to you. And so they had some control over the gates on energy, had that stuff. Get into the Middle East, well, there was olive oil. Olive oil powered the lamps and everything, and so there were only certain places where the olives would grow well. It's one of the main reasons that the Babylonians never crushed the Israelites completely. They absorbed them instead because the Israelites had the olives. Yeah, they're the oil lobby, man, whale oil. It was whale oil. Does anybody remember? They didn't just go after those big critters, because they like to kill Moby Dick, right? No, it was for the oil, and we burned it. And all of this, there was a source of supply, and then there was the gateway through it, which the consumer was on the other end, and whoever had the supply source and managed the gate controlled you, the price, and everything else. And so, through most of history, energy has actually been a monopoly, or whatever you want to call it. We've been at the mercy. And energy, of course, becomes more and more and more and more and more important all the time to us. The grid shut down now. Oh, it's the dark age for sure. It's the end. They'll be storming the castle with pitchforks, I'm sure. So it's super important. And, of course, anybody who watches the channel knows that I am constantly advocating the idea of trying to direct your lives to be more of a producer and less of a consumer in many different aspects. Some produce one thing, some produce another thing, and so on, and it does help in your economy a lot. You're not as susceptible. Food prices are going up right now. Ask me if I'm really particularly worried about that. I'm not. Why? Well, I got a lot of food, Energy prices are going up right now across the board, Washington has looked in and said, there seems to be a gap between the price at production and the price at the pump. What is this caused by? Well, hey, come on. Have you ever... when was the last time they started giving out free gasoline? Forget it. It's part of the attempt, I think, to begin the energy war. This is what's happening. The gas companies are not going to lay down for a nation full of electric cars. You're naive if you even think that could happen. It's not going to happen. Now, we could go for a nation full of electric cars. That could happen, yeah. And it's feasible. It's real. I've been using this already for a while now, and, I'm hot on it. But, convincing everybody that this is what they want to do, forget it. Okay, so, the people that control the purse strings realize there's a lot of random chaos out here in the streets, and all you got to do is start seeding it and salting it in social media in such a way that, that again, it will look like grassroots. The people will rise up and go, "We must have oil." In a way, that's a metaphor for it, but this something to that effect is what we're going to witness soon. It's going to be a war, and the only way out of it. There really is only one way out of it. Take control. Take control. There's a guy who noticed solar stuff on our roof. I'd go out and I'd walk around and show it to you today, but it's so dang rainy that I'd ruin my camera. It's actually working, though, in the rain. I am getting current. And yes, we do keep the house almost permanently charged. I live in one of the wettest places in the United States of America. How's that? We have more clouds than Seattle. Yeah. And so the idea that, there's not enough sunshine, you're going to hear all this, believe me. It's not practical. Junk. It's junk. We manage. We do it. Now, I've got a lot of panels. The panels were really good ones. They were the best we could find and the most expensive we could find. They're American-made. Excellent. They really crank. And so they work. The storage unit I have here is a Tesla battery. It's an excellent device. It just, I can't say too much about it. No matter whether you like Elon Musk or hate him, he's leaving for Mars pretty soon anyways. You better get yours now. But, yeah. The car we have it on a integrated solar charger. It's made by Solar Edge. After we finally got it dialed in, there were some issues initially. I think we were the 7th one here on the island to have our own independent solar charger from Solar Edge when we installed it. There are more now. But this was in this morning's news here in Hawaii, the local stuff, is that we realize right now the number of public chargers for our cars, electric cars, is you got 40 cars to every charger was the statistic. We need more public chargers, but my opinion is the solution for a lot of this is public chargers are great. And if I'm out somewhere at a hotel or I'm shopping, I love using the public charger, especially the ones I can get into for free. Those are the great ones. But, I rely on our home unit. The home unit here is what keeps my car full almost all the time. If I have any issues with it, I will drop it off over at Chevy for an hour and let them ram their ultra-high energy charger into it or something. We get times when we've driven too much driving for the amount of sun to keep up with that. But my system is also set up so if need be, it will automatically flip over to the grid wire if that's what I have to do. So there's no hardship. There is no hardship. I might have to pay Helco, our utility, a few more dollars, if I did that, but that's all it amounts to. Whoa, and I tell you what, I got a gas car sitting over here yet that I haven't gotten rid of because I'm waiting for the electric pickup trucks that I want. And I hardly drive it, and it already costs me a lot more than the electric one. Also, things that we don't know about our electric cars yet, because we might not own one, is that with one-pedal driving mode in these cars, I hardly ever use the brake pedal. There is no transmission. There is no cooling system other than keeping the battery cooled. There's some sort of material in there. The moving parts. The moving parts are very minimal. There's almost nothing in these cars that goes around other than the wheels and the motor. It's amazing. And so the breakdown rate, the wear out rate on these, I guess they go through tires as fast, but past that, mine's 2019. This is 2021. I still have to bring it back to Chevrolet periodically for, the warranty checkups. And so far, the only thing they ever do is fill the windshield squirts. Now, there is this issue with the battery recall with Chevrolet, and I am still waiting on that one. Technically, according to Chevy, we should get a brand new battery either sometime late this year or sometime early next. Too bad. There are recalls on all kinds of things. It's only a portion of the cars that had a problem. And we are right now in the beginning of an age. This is new stuff for us. So expect bugs. I have expected bugs. Got a few. Nothing serious. And so I guess what I'm doing is I am encouraging people. Look at it. It's real. Real. How would you like not having to pay a gas or oil bill for your house? How would you like driving by a filling station, seeing people lined up and going, gosh, do I miss the social interaction of the gas pump? No, probably not. Think about it. Think about this. Suppose you were entirely your own energy producer. I mean, right down to the car. Here, our chainsaws, our weed whackers, all the farm tools I'm using here, pretty much have all been converted over to battery, so they are sun-powered. So far, they have not managed to put a tax on the sun. I don't even think there. I still have a gas lawnmower I bought because it was, kind of in between there. About 2018, I bought the mower, and 19, we put in the solar. So had it been a little later, that mower would have been electric. currently, I just basically going to wait for it to wear out. It'll grandfather and we'll switch. And the other smaller power tools I had, I sold them all off, to other people who wanted the gas tools. I've converted almost everything to electric, running it off the sun, and I'm very pleased with it all. Steve, the remote worker, left me with a gas-powered DeWalt chipper when he left the island that's been used 3 times. It'll last a while. So I will be burning some gasoline. Yeah, because I still have a few residual tools that run on fossil fuels here. And I'm not going to throw them out. They're perfectly good. I own a DR chipper that has, very little time on it, too. So it'll take me a while to wear them out. Our conversion has pretty much been seamless and extremely positive. I don't know how to express to you what it feels like to be your own energy producer. Energy is so expensive, and getting worse. And like I say, I predict an energy war. These guys aren't going to give up. And the only way that can be diffused, the only way we can move forward, other than some authoritarian hammer coming down like in China on the cars, but that is not going to happen here. All right? We get too much confusion, too much chaos, too many different interests, and too much money for anything like that to happen. Best I can tell you is I'm sitting here on the other end of my camera on the internet there. Now, if anybody's got any questions about it, serious questions, you want to know something about my experiences, that's all. I hired other people to do the engineering on the system. I highly recommend everybody else do the same thing when they get into this, because they'll probably get it right eventually, and the credits that are offered from the government through the IRS for this, and through the utilities, that there still are some right now, they have to be done through licensed contractors, electricians, and so on. You can put a system on the house yourself, but don't expect to get any credit for it. If you hire somebody to put the system on the house for you, you will get credit. Right now, I think the tax roll still has it like a 20%. I think there's still something on the electric cars, too. Basically, it'll end up kind of covering a lot of the cost of having hired other people to do the work for you. So, it's well worth it. Each and every person will have to make a decision for themselves about this. Now, I suppose for a lot of us, the economics, the economics are probably what holds it back, a lot of it. For some of us, our thinking, period, on this, we're not going to change. But I think the economics are probably the major limiting factor. It's fairly expensive. Even with federal rebates and things, and rebates from General Motors, I think the electric Chevy was still, I guess, about $35,000. It starts at $42,000. There's a $5,000, and then there was credit from the IRS on it, somewhere in there. It's not cheap. They're coming down. They will come down. This is going to get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. Well, there'll be a floor, but it's going to reduce for sure as time goes on, and there's more competition. This is the whole thing about it, right? So we're going to see the price of the cars start to drop. Price of equipment, I don't know if we've seen a lot of change there. I haven't been tracking it. What I have seen, though, was that the technology in the equipment, what you're getting for what you pay for, just keeps going up all the time. It just keeps getting better. And I guess I can't make an argument, if I was to try, as to why you should shell into your pocket to do this. I mean, there's the obvious reasons. Perhaps a lot of you have noticed there seems to be some problems with the climate. Yeah, they'll keep arguing. But all the arguments about climate change are pretty much fueled by the fossil fuel guys. They don't want to talk about this because it's, the two things are linked. It's linked. The carbon the methane, all of that. It's definitely linked to shifting the climate. The climate shifts on its own no matter what. That's happened over and over and over and over again. But yeah, track record on this one looks pretty clear. Yeah, you can take a look at the industrial age, take a look at the buildup of methane, take a look at the buildup of CO2, look at the temperature. The graphs all pretty much fall into a line. This is, we're probably in trouble. Even if you don't read graphs, if you were standing in your backyard the last time you got hit by 7 tornadoes in one summer, something's up. Something's up. And so we're losing islands. I'm an island guy here. I don't want to lose an island. Well, I'm lucky. I picked an island that sticks up almost 14,000 feet in 2 places. Got to be a lot of ice melting to cover the island. I also put myself far enough up the island. That wasn't intentional because I was worried about drowning. It was intentional in that I like the temperature up here. That's why I'm here. Very much appeals to me. It's not as hot as by the shore. And definitely, we want to argue over it. My need for energy, as far as for climate control, is nowhere near as great as most of the rest of you. Most of the rest of you either probably live where it gets really hot, or you live where it gets really cold, or you live where it's hot and cold, hot and cold. That was the Midwest. The Midwest, yeah. I loved it, man. In the winter, we got Alberta, In the summer, we got the Gulf of Mexico and New Orleans. They'd come back and forth. So, you will need to use more energy than I use. But, climate is something that the weather, temperatures, in fact, rather, that are not just, throw more coal in the fire type of thing, or crank the air conditioner. You can build structures, you can create houses, you can modify existing houses in so many ways, actually, that will take care of a lot of these problems. I begin to think in Tornado Alley, up through the Midwest, where I used to live, I don't know why people still build those wood frame houses the way they do in certain areas. If I was there, I'd be building earth-sheltered homes or some such thing like this, where they'd be, more insulated from the winter time, more insulated from the summer. Maybe you'd have sod roofs and things like this. Places where maybe when the tornadoes were coming, you would shut your tornado doors across the solar passive glass on the front of the earth-sheltered home, so that 2x4s wouldn't come plunging through your windows, and the tornadoes would basically go over you, because that's what they do on land. Earth-sheltered homes would obviously be much safer. So you get passive solar homes. In New Mexico, for instance, here's a climate where they get a lot of sun, they get quite a bit of heat, they get a lot of winter in places too. Some of these adobe structures I've seen there using huge masonry walls to retain the heat, or to keep buildings cool and so on. I studied passive solar in construction for many, many years, some years back. I am not using it here in Hawaii anymore. But I used to build passive solar greenhouses in Wisconsin. And I got a test at a climate Zone 3, where temperatures would commonly plummet to 30 below zero in the winter, and we did actually see 54 below at one point. 40 belows weren't too rare. 30 was very common. Minus 30 Fahrenheit was very typical in the winter. We'd see that. And I had passive solar greenhouse I'd constructed that I could actually grow crops during the wintertime in there. Yeah, no extra heat. Used it by the sun. I'm always at war with belief systems, and so a lot of what will oppose all of this is definitely going to be belief. Change is tough for people, man. They don't like it. The rest, though, the money argument, I do and I do not understand. I guess because being a producer rather than a consumer, I raise my prices too if I need to when I don't think that it's coming in at me. So I am also somewhat a gatekeeper on things, and so I have control to a point. To a point, I have control. More than a lot of people, not as much as some, so on. Enough for me. It's enough for us. We do okay with it. When you have no control, when you're a complete consumer, and everything that you have pretty much has to be brought in, you know, that you have to buy in your energy, you buy in your food, you buy in, you know, your clothing, you buy in all this stuff. Well, then you're at the mercy. They got you by the short and skinnies, and pretty much whatever the marketplace demands of you, you will offer. I know that frustrating feeling. It's why all of this. I don't like that frustrating feeling, and so gradually moved over to that position. But that is not the solution either. In this case, I guess that probably to some extent will be where we're going to have to rely on the government to come in on this. This is where they're maybe good at things. They're bad at a lot. You all know that. I don't even want to hear about it, right? But they're good at creating tax breaks, you know, creating regulations and so on. This administration, I seriously don't think it's going to last, you know, long under the current situation of the country. Where it's going sometimes scares me, but I don't know. Yeah. I just don't think it. I see it's round and round again. Carter was in one term. There was a whole bunch of stuff that people turned on him. They didn't like him, and so he was out of office just like that. And so everything they tried to do, which was actually very intelligent, a lot of the environmental stuff he was working on, actually was the best programs I've ever seen in Washington. But it failed miserably. People don't want the change. There's a lot of money that was involved. It's the same this time. Now the talk is bigger. It's a little more powerful, but there's too much chaos in the government to really actually get too much passed, I'm afraid, before it gets liquidated down to where it's just a bucket of slop, which is what happens. You know, we live in a country that is run by committee. I've been here quite a while, and I'm used to the fact I never get what I want. You know, nobody does. You get some of what you might like. Then there's the rest. It's always a compromise. You're lucky if it's a compromise. Please make it a compromise. Because when they decide, we're not going to compromise, that's where the trouble starts. It has to happen. It's a committee. And so it will get boiled down. Be something left in the end. Maybe there'll be something left that will be helpful to the rest of us. And so I'd be looking for it. If I were you, I'd be paying attention if you're interested in this alternative energy thing I'm referring to. Because the solution is, honestly, for you to take control. Now, here's a place where, if you can manage it, that you become a producer rather than a consumer in our society. Once you start producing all your own energy, wow, that's powerful. Put up extra panels, sell it to the guy next door, too. You know, really. So, you know, if anybody thinking about it, I can't say too much about put in a car charger. Right now, there aren't enough of them public. And so it's currently a little bit impractical. I live on an island. I can go across the island and back on one charge. Okay, so generally my longest trip here, we're covered. But like I said, there are 40 cars to every charger, and worse yet, I get over, in Kona's side, there aren't driving as many electric cars over there for whatever reason. And so in Kona, I can find chargers everywhere. But in Hilo, this side of the island's packed with them, which doesn't make sense. It's sunnier on that side. I don't get it. But anyway, it's packed with electric cars on this side. And it's frequent that, at Target, for instance, they have electric chargers. And we have a card, came from Chevrolet, that gives us 2 hours every time we every time we plug into a charger at Target, that particular type. And, I don't know how many times I find people parked in the slots that shouldn't be there, blocking the chargers, or somebody has taken the cord from this charger, pulled it all the way over there, and plugged it in and made it so other people can't use the charger. It happens a lot. And so when you're relying on public charging systems, it's probably got to be worse than gas. For a while, definitely, it's going to be worse than pulling into a filling station, I think, because there's quite a bit of chaos on it currently. That's why I own my own. I'm telling everybody to do. It wasn't really that expensive, the charger. Getting behind that steering wheel of my car and going, runs on the sun, doesn't smell, I don't hear nothing. I start to get an attitude about the diesel fumes and stuff. The cars we got currently are very messy. They really are. And I will, for one, be happy to see them go. Now, bear in mind, maybe it doesn't show too much, but, as a young man, I was a biker and a hot rodder. I was part of America's car culture. I've owned hot rod motorcycles. I used to love the English ones. I had BSAs and Triumphs. Had a Harley for a little while. I used to take old cars and modify them. I had hot rod 57 Chevys, all sorts of different heavy-duty street iron. Love speed. That's a younger man. Environmental stuff started to come on, in the 60s and 70s, and I started looking at what I was doing, and gradually I moved my ego out of my hot rods, and gradually I started driving small, energy-efficient automobiles that were not connected to my ego, as I refer to them as SHIT boxes, Well, then the electric Chevy came around. I was deciding whether I was going to have a Tesla or a Chevy. I'm always Chevy. Can't get a Tesla on this island without shipping one anyway. So I just said, all right, Chevrolet. I've had many Chevrolets in my life. And, the darn thing's too fast. It's too fast. For a long time, the kinds of automobiles I had been driving in California, they just weren't exciting to put your foot into the metal. It just wasn't, Ford Focus, Toyota Corolla, These are not peppy things that, excite you on the track. And, the Chevy Bolt does, and so does the Tesla, both of them. Wow. I mean, it's at least out of the hole, it's kind of like, can you get that $20 bill off the dashboard, just like the old 426 Hemis, in the Roadrunners. Actually, they were 383s in most of them. But, yeah, it's a little too energetic. I have seriously used cruise control on this island, or I would probably do a flashback to being 21, and get pulled over. There'd be 6 squads, You were doing 180 miles an hour in a 40, type of thing. Yeah, it's so they are quick, and the torque is amazing. Anybody who hasn't driven an electric car yet, please, if you can find any with the chip shortage at the moment, a friend has one, neighbor has one, if the dealer is willing to do test drives, go on out and try one, even if you're not going to buy it right now, It's not a good time to buy it right now anyway, but, go try one. Seriously. If you live near me, you're a neighbor, and you're really, really that interested, dude, we'll go take a test drive in mine. I don't care. Make sure you're vaccinated, bring your driver's license, make sure it's current, and leave your heat at home. And yeah, we can do that. I really promote the idea because I see this as being a great future for all of us. Positive direction is what I'm looking about. Every time I hear people get back to me and go, oh, it's the government, they're controlling our minds, or it's the pharmaceutical companies that hate you, ain't no use for that. Pointing fingers it's for people who are psychologically unbalanced. Somebody who has really got a grip on life realizes that you are your own worst enemy. You're the one who's stopping you from anything. If there's something out there you don't like, well, you can take it on. But if you really don't like it, take it on. Don't just sit around and mutter about it. It just stews your brain because you got the control. And if you don't think you got the control, you must have given it away to somebody because you always had it. You still do. So back to the money. What do we do about the money? Well, I guess if I think about this one, I seem to recall that I always encouraged people to invest. Invest like a gardener, invest like a farmer, whatever. And that is what I do. And the truth is that 100% of the solar energy system on top of the house and the electric car was paid for by investing in the right stocks on the market. I didn't pay for this. There's inflation. The inflation in energy costs looks like it might be out of line with the rest of the inflation, maybe. At least that's what they think in Washington, and so they're looking at it, and it never does any good. I don't remember how many times this has happened, that they haul the oil executives in and they go, price of a barrel of oil is here, price of a gallon of gas is like this. And they go, well, it's blah, 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 blah. There's always some explanation, but somewhere in there, at least a good part of the explanation is we wanted to make more money off you guys because we got you. And we're going to hang on. So I encourage investing in order to stabilize your economy. I absolutely encourage taking any profits you made and investing it in alternative energy for yourself. To build systems. With the scarcity of car chargers, currently, a switch to the electric automobile is real. No one's going to stop China. And so right now, China's running your environmental politics for you, in a way, by affecting U.S. companies like Tesla and Chevrolet, General Motors, rather. And and so they're the ones telling the American consumer what you're going to do. It's a crazy world, isn't it? Huh? But it ain't going to stop, so I guess it's called sort of get used to it, folks. I don't know. In this case, probably about one of the only things China ever did that I'm looking at and going, well, could be good. Could be good. I don't often see much of anything coming from there that, really makes me feel happy. So it's probably all right. But build your own chargers. Even if you're still on the grid, it's for most of you, it's going to be cheaper to charge your own car at home using your power grid than it will be to buy gasoline. Okay. Yeah, it's definitely. And it will also make your life much more comfortable, as the current infrastructure program is dumping just huge sums of money into trying to get these charging stations built across the United States. Right now we're deficient, but that will begin to change. Hawaii has a rather large number of electric cars already, and the numbers keep going up. It's a rather popular idea here. Obviously, it works for us, right? So we see the value. Environmental consciousness is strong here too, and then we haven't got any fossil fuel. The solar is the thing, okay? And so even if you have to hook a car charger for your up and coming electric car to the wire right now to make that run, you will already be taking a step in a direction that you're going to be happy about. I mean, honestly. Can't make everybody happy, but I'd say at least 80% of you who make this switch over to the electric cars in this country, you're going to be happy about it. Yeah. And the car, of course, is one of the major reasons why we have air pollution. It's definitely a big deal. The utilities are another. There are all kinds of reasons this stuff happens, but the car is a big deal. It really is. And a lot of the utility companies are moving from coal. Hawaii has a very high percentage. It changes by the day, but it's a real high percentage of our energy here is created by natural energies. But we burn a lot of natural gas to produce power on this island in places. I even believe there's some diesel, and I know there's some coal around yet, being burned. Well, the natural gas, the diesel, and the coal, they're all brought in. No matter what happens, even if all of us produce our own energy, like here I'm doing pretty close to 99%. It's very close to 100%. Even if we get there, I left the wire in place, and I did it for, I think, a real good reason. Because if anything happens, if I have to service my equipment, for instance, or if there's just, you live in the wettest place in the United States, the clouds can come in and stay there for a long time. And I always get enough juice to run this house. Sometimes I'm not getting enough extra sunlight to charge my car. Now that's partially my problem and partially the engineer's fault and partially just the local climate, because it's like well over 90% of the time it does work, but there is a percentage when the weather turns on us and it doesn't work well, and I actually use chargers out of the house to support my auto at times rather than tax the house battery. But the engineers that put the system on the roof probably should have estimated for a couple more collectors. Yeah, spend plenty. That's all I can tell you. I know Ellen, she kept saying, no, man, put more collectors up than you need. Put more up than you need. I went with the engineer's recommendation, and he was 90% correct. So I guess that meant Ellen was 100% right. Should have put 2 more collectors on the roof, and they will get added. I'm looking at the new I'm looking at the new Ford Ranger that will be coming out. I've always enjoyed the small Ranger pickups by Ford. Been a good thing for me. And the fully electric one that will be coming soon enough is exciting for me, since I like Ford pickups. And the price on it possibly is going to be fair, reasonable. And so once I get rid of the other gas car we have here, I will then have 2 electric vehicles in the house only. And I'll need a couple extra panels up there just to make sure. No, it's really just a kind of a convenience issue, because there's just 2 of us in this house. We live here together, and if we had to get together and drive the same car, we don't commute. All right, so big deal. I can't charge the truck right now because it's too cloudy, but I would like to be able to just say, yeah, whatever it happens, it works, which I think when adding another car, I will have to add some panels. It's not that expensive. I'll hire somebody to come on in here and do the engineering and make sure it's put in right, so that I won't have any problems with it. Here in Hawaii, we have so many people that are on solar energy. Now, there's a variety of reasons, but the main one is that as far as the other 48 states are concerned over there, during the 1930s, there was the Tennessee Valley Authority, which was a rural electrification program, which, I think until recently, I actually had some money on their bonds, because they don't pay too much, but there is a dividend and is a guaranteed sale back price too. It's not a bad thing. A TVA, TVE bond still exists. It's back from the Roosevelt years. It was set up. And anyway, that was a time when we went ahead through the United States and we ran wires everywhere. Hawaii was the territory at the time. I guess maybe some of the wires got in here through that. But they never wired this whole island. There are huge areas of this where you cannot find a water pipe, where you cannot find an electric line. There are no sewer lines or gas lines or any of the stuff you folks are used to in the mainland. We really don't have it, except right in the towns. The towns are normal. The rest of the islands, the rest of the state, we're in the Stone Age as far as that's concerned. And so we have to do it ourselves. Some people are like, there's microwave and satellite internet here because there's no wires going to places and people live there. So the solar energy caught on quick, and it's been big here for a long time now, and we've been using it. And in general, we're not really having too much trouble with it. It's become so commonplace over here. I suspect there'll be places in the United States where you started talking about solar on the roof and that, where people are going to go, "Oh, you're crazy. That'll work." That's the usual attitude when I talk to people. "Oh, no, that's not going to work. It doesn't work." It's already the energy industry has infiltrated the minds of a whole lot of people as far as the belief is concerned. It will work. It does work, but it takes a belief, I guess. I guess I had to believe it was real. Otherwise, I wouldn't have dumped so darn much money on it. But as I said about investing in the money, it took me 6 months under the current market conditions. After I paid for all the solar installation and the car, then the market came right back up. The bucket was full, as if I never drew any money out. And that was in 2019. So we've been 2 years since that expenditure. And at that point, I don't have a percentage, but trust me, wow, is the bucket overflowed, came over the top and running down the sides as far as my portfolio is concerned. That's why I encourage people to invest, because it kind of frees you from that idea that, oh, I got to work for the money, I got to save the money, put it in the bank, and then, oh, when I spend the money, this is hurt because I worked so hard for it, and each dollar is blood. Really, it is. In your mind, it hurts. It's your body. You have worked for that money, and but if you take money and you put it into a market, the market does the work. Yeah, if it's done right, market does the work. Aloha, folks. Just a bit note here. Try and encourage folks. Look at this alternative energy thing. Look at the electric car thing. It's coming at you. It's coming at you. I don't know how strong some of it'll be. Back to climate change talks again, and rejoin some of this, which we never should have left in the first place, because the problem's global. Well, aloha. Hang loose. Later.